please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. It seems like the meetings get more people here every meeting, so good to see you all. We'll get things going. Approval of the minutes. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes. Any corrections, changes? They stand approved. Report of Town Manager, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mayor Stanley, members of council. Just a few things to touch on tonight. I did forget my manners a bit and not bringing to everyone's attention the fact that last month was Youth Art Month. That is March and established by the National Endowment for the Arts. And we had some banners displayed on light poles downtown, which were original works of art created by students in the Bedford County Public School Systems in a program coordinated by Mrs. Leslie Overstreet Bowyer. So I just wanted to extend thanks to them as well as the Public Works Department who installed the displays and took them down. Also want to say thank you to everyone who's physically present today, coming to council meetings, viewing council meetings. Paying attention to council meetings is the single best way to get information about what official town action is being taken. For the benefit of those who might be listening and not here in person, if you can't make it here, you can watch us live on the live stream through YouTube. Just search Town of Bedford, Virginia. Also, all meetings are recorded and maintained on the YouTube site. Approved meeting minutes are also available online at www.bedfordva.gov. Just click on Government and then Agenda and Minutes and check the Minutes section. And also, in addition, not a plug for me, but for the town, I host a podcast each Wednesday morning following council meetings to provide a recap of everything that takes place. And that can be accessed online at mediasquatch.com. Click on local podcasts and then Best Little Town. That's the name of the podcast. And I will close by first off recognizing Shannon Walker, who has done an excellent job serving as interim chief since January while we conducted a hiring process to bring on a new member of our leadership team. And I'm pleased to introduce Police Chief Jim Moore, who was sworn in yesterday. We are very grateful to have him. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Bart. Appearances before council. Let me clarify this. I think all but one are here to talk in the public hearings for the Governor's Hill. I believe Mr. Whitehurst is here for the appearance before council. Am I correct? Okay, come on up. No. I'll let you know.
Thank you. My name is David Whitehurst, 1310 Vistarama Lane here in Bedford. And I just come to you as a citizen of Bedford and as a pastor of one of the 30 or so churches in Bedford to thank you for your service for our community. I know that you do a lot more than is seen, but I want you to know that it is appreciated. There's a proverb in the Bible, Proverbs 11:11, that says, by the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted. And so I'd like to take a moment and just pray God's blessing on you and on our town, our community, if you would. Let me lead in prayer. Almighty God, thank you so much for those who serve this community, elected and staff. And I ask you to bless them and guide them and give them wisdom and strength. May their work be one that's not grievous, but one that brings joy. We pray your blessing upon our community. We ask you to protect us, protect those who serve, the police and first responders. And thank you, Lord, for causing this place to continue to be a great place to live and work and raise a family. We pray and speak your blessing upon our city, our town, this community, in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Actually, Mayor Stanley, I think there was one other person signed up that was not attached to the Governor's Hill hearing.
Who might? Come on down. I apologize.
It's okay. I'll just take a second. My name is Jen Cohn, 3674 Forest Road. I like to call myself the loyal farmers market volunteer. I'm working hard on the farmers market. And I also have the Little Otter Flower Farm, which I started for my son Max, who has autism, who was here before you a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just here today to let you know that April is Autism Awareness Month, and we will be having autism awareness at the farmers market this Saturday with sensory activities and information and all sorts of stuff about autism. So we hope to see you there. If you know any family, there are a lot of families in our community who are touched by autism, the farmers market this Saturday will be a great opportunity for them to meet other people and get information about autism. Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it. All right, council comments. Dave, got anything?
Always have something to say.
That's what I
Well,
know.
first of all, I mean, we always say thanks for being out, so thanks for coming out. This is really a good crowd. Glad to see you here. Also want to welcome Chief Moore. Glad that he's here and joined the part of the team. And also thanks for Ms. Cohen for the update on the farmers market. I hope to be out there this weekend, so thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and also I'd like to thank Mr. Whitehurst for your prayer. We covered your prayer.
Echo what's already been said. Appreciate everyone being here. Thank you.
Just want to thank everybody coming. Congratulate Chief Moore being here. We look forward to working with you. And thankful all our other departments for what they do for our town. And look forward for the Bedford Farmers Market this Saturday. So.
All right, I want to thank everybody for being here. I also want to give appreciation to Captain Walker for what he's done for us the past few months, and welcome Chief Moore. And then I also wanted to thank the staff. They've done a great job so far this week on the cleanup, spring cleanup.
I want to welcome everybody here. We've got a good crowd tonight. We appreciate you all. I want to welcome Mr. Moore here for our new chief, and thank you for what all you do for the autistic community at the farmers market. Max does a great job.
I just have a couple of things. As usual, I want to welcome the new police chief, Jim Moore. I'm glad to see you. You have survived 2 days. Keep up the good work. Yeah. This past Saturday, I was honored to be asked to give a short talk at the rec opening day ceremonies for the baseball, softball kids at the county rec field. Brought back some good memories. Reminisced a little bit. I said a few words of wisdom, but again, it was an honor, and I did appreciate doing it. During that time, I happened to run into the mayor from Amherst, Dwayne Tuggle, and he and I talked a little bit, and as you would know it, neither one of us had a card to exchange. So but we said we'd contact each other and hook up at some point. Finally, I want to recognize one of our councilmen here, Councilman Haley, has been recently elected as the president of the Bedford Elks Lodge. And what do they call that? The exalted ruler.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Congratulations, Stacy. It's my understanding that you're going to Kansas City.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's great.
Thank you, sir.
I've been there. It's a lot to do. They're known for the barbecue, so enjoy your time there. Great place to visit. Congratulations. And that is all I have. No reports of council committees. No revisions to the agenda. Okay. Public hearings. Number 1, proposed tax rates.
Notice of public hearing regarding setting tax rates on real property and certain personal property for tax year 2025. Please be advised the public hearing on the tax rates will be held on Tuesday, April 8, 2025 at 7:00 p.m. in the council chambers of the town municipal building, to wit, to set a real property tax rate of not more than 28 cents per $100 of assessed valuation for tax year 2025, to set a personal property tax rate of not more than $1.06 per $100 of assessed valuation in the town of Bedford for tax year 2025, and to set a machinery and tools tax rate of not more than 1/100,000th of a cent per per $100 of assessed valuation in the town of Bedford for tax year 2025 for machinery and tools. The rates proposed for tax year 2025 are the same rates as tax year 2024. All right.
And the public hearing is now open for this. Anyone who would like to come and speak on behalf of the tax rates, you're welcome to come up at this time. See no movement, so the hearing is closed. All right. Changing zoning map by rezoning property tax map numbers 51A1T and 51A2T, from R1 to R3 zoning.
Notice is hereby given of 3 public hearings to be held by the Town Council at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, April 8, 2025, for the purpose of hearing 3 requests for residential developments. First, for parcels 251-A-1T and 251-A-2T, located at the end of Crest Ridge Drive, owned by Rambo Ellen LLC, a zoning amendment with proffers from low-density residential R1 to high-density residential R3 for single-family detached and townhouse development uses on smaller lots. The second, parcels 251-A-1T and 251-A-2T, a conditional use permit for a sales office for a model home with parking in the R3 zoning district. And the third, parcel 146B-1-1T, located off Burks Hill Road, owned by Kevin Venhorst, a conditional use permit for a townhouse development in the B2 zoning district. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. Anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall now have an opportunity to express his or her views at the hearing.
Okay. This hearing is now open, and Mr. White, I'll ask you to start it off by being the presenter. Good to see you back again.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Jamie White with White Engineering and Design in Forest, Virginia. I'm representing Rambo Ellen LLC, and we're looking to rezone 2 parcels that consist of approximately 44.25 acres from R1 to R3. That's what our first discussion is here about today. This development that we're looking to do would be a mix of single-family detached housing and townhouses, so that'd be a multifamily use. The development will include all infrastructure as far as roads, sidewalks, and public utilities, and include required open spaces needed based upon the town ordinance, including some open park areas that would have benches, gazebos, and walking paths. The layout that you see before you tonight is slightly different than what came before council late last year. And there's a main change that's happened here that I think helps satisfy some of the concerns with our neighboring property owners. Over the past few months, we have worked with the adjoining property owners to acquire secondary access, and that has been one of the main stumbling blocks that we've tried to get through on this parcel to get it rezoned. It's having all this traffic come through the existing Governor's Hill development. I'm happy to say that as of last week, we do have both contracts in place with Mr. Venhorst to acquire his parcel, and we have also got a purchase agreement with I think it's Lighthouse Community Church, I believe is what the name of it is, to purchase a portion of their property to allow for connectivity to Burks Hill Road. So we have those in place now. Our plan is to make that connection to Burks Hill Road as part of this development. What that also does for this development, we used to have a secondary emergency access that tied into the cul-de-sac at Emerald Crest. That is no longer needed since we have a secondary access here. So we'll have 2 access points, one will be at Crest Ridge Drive, which was the intended stub street to tie into this development, and now we'll also be coming in onto Burks Hill Road. We're estimating probably about 75% of the traffic for the development will probably come from the Brooks Hill Road side of town. So that'll be a definite alleviation of a traffic concern that our neighbors had going with the by right use on the property. And I know some of you have heard this several times because we've been here multiple times to discuss these parcels. I know I see some new members here, so we'll go over some of the issues and conditions that we're putting on the property and things that we have to do. Public water and public sewer are available to the property. This was a concern when we brought this back to council about 3 years ago. Sewer issues were prominent in some of the lower downhill sections of the sanitary sewer lines back then, and that kind of kept us from being able to proceed with any type of development over the last few years. Bedford Regional Water Authority has spent a lot of time and effort upgrading pump stations and interceptor lines for sanitary sewer. We have met with them, and we've met with town staff to discuss any water and sewer availability, and there's no concern to have plenty of access for water and sewer onto the site. Stormwater management and erosion and sediment control for this development. We'll end up having multiple stormwater management facilities on the project. There'll be a couple of them down on the low side of the project along the creek. And now with the acquisition of the Venmore's property and a portion of the church property, that's in another low area, and then we'll have to do some stormwater management in that area too, as far as detention and quality treatment. Just to let you know that all of what we design and submit and what will eventually get approved by the town in Bedford County who does the stormwater reviews. Everything that we do will meet local, state, and federal guidelines as far as erosion sediment control and stormwater runoff requirement. I know that there have been past issues in Governor's Hill Section 1 and Section 2. And I remember reading about this years ago when Section 2 was under construction. There have been some runoff issues that have happened over there. I just want you to be sure and to be aware that those standards are even more strict than what it was back during that time. The state requirements have increased. They increased again last year. And then what I would say is for what we do and working with the developer on past projects that have sensitive areas downstream from us, after our work is done, we've never had any complaint about runoff issues that are ongoing problems. Our stormwater ponds will be built and constructed minimum standards that actually helps the existing conditions if nothing was done on these sites. We have to hold back and detain that water now to much less than the pre-development flows that go into the downhill streams, and then we'll have to do that on all of our ponds that we build. In looking at some of the existing issues in Governor's Hill Section 1 and 2, there were some issues that there should have been some inlets placed in Section 2 that should have, it would have alleviated some problems and some runoff and some stormwater that jumped over curbs. We have offered to assist the town in alleviating some of those problems. Now that's off-site work for us. However, we really need to divert water around some of those homes at the low side of Crest Ridge Drive, and we're still willing to do that. So we're looking to add inlets, not on our side of and divert and direct some stub lines over to the public right-of-way so that we can tie in that water and get it around those homes on the lower end of Crest Ridge Drive. That should alleviate a lot of the concerns by installing a couple of inlets there. I've offered to provide any type of design requirements and services to the town in order to get that happen, and the developers willing to work with the town to alleviate that concern with our neighboring property owners. So when we first brought this back last fall, we went door to door, talked to our neighbors about working out some land issues that they have because their rear yards are only 10 foot deep on a lot of those properties. We got agreements from most of those property owners, if they supported our project, what we would do is give them 33 feet of land if we got approval. That didn't happen last fall. We didn't go door to door this time looking for letters of support or things of that nature. Part of our condition, and we're proffering that we're just going to give that land to those property owners, and that we'll close on a transfer of that property within 90 days of approval if we get the rezone. So we're just going to give them that land. We didn't need any type of support letters at this point. We know that people would prefer to have that property there and not have us butt up against them 33 feet closer. Traffic was the main issue that we had in a lot of our discussions, whether it was 2021 or last fall. What we're hoping is now that we've secured the secondary access point, which will become a primary access once the development is finished, that will alleviate a lot of concerns. I know that, judging by the crowd here, it looks like a lot of the neighbors felt that that was alleviating some of their issues, because I know we had some pretty strong attendance at some of those, and that was the main concern. And I know we came last time, and I know, Mr. Mayor, we talked about trying to wait to do that. We just didn't know how long that process was going to take. And even after we got in January a approval from the church that they would sign the contract, it still took them until last week to actually give me a contract in writing. So we've been working hard behind the scenes trying to alleviate those problems, and I think what we're offering now kind of alleviates a lot of that concern. So looking at the neighborhood, look and feel, what we're doing on our site, in the single-family detached areas, when you look at road frontage widths, land area for our lots, what we're doing is almost mimicking what's already in Governor's Hill, Section 1 and Section 2. Our lot sizes are very comparable. Our road frontages are going to be about 52 feet. A lot of the lots inside of Section 1 and 2, that some of them are right at 50 feet. We're going to have standard R3 setbacks. We'll have the normal rear yard, and where some of those rear yards were adjusted to 10 feet, and we're trying to help accommodate that. So the look and feel of this neighborhood would be very similar to what's already there. We have intermingled some townhouses through the development. I know we got some feedback from Planning Commission about potentially moving those closer to the 122 side of town, and we're definitely looking to do that and kind of shift that over. I think that would probably help out our neighbors, and they'd feel more comfortable having that a little further away as well. So we're kind of determining which way we want to go with that. But I think the idea is, and the feedback we've gotten, is that I think everybody would prefer to see a lot of that multifamily stuff kind of pushed closer to Berkshire Road. When you look at the density of the development, even adding in multifamily and townhouses, standard R3 density would be 16 units per acre. That's what we're not trying to get, high density development here. We're going to be at about 5.2 units per acre is what we're going to be at. So it's not like we're looking for a high density development. We're trying to create an extension of a development and grow the area for a housing need. And we think that having homes that are similar in lot sizes, price points, and things of that nature, we think would be a benefit to community. And having that secondary access finally nailed down, I think that helps alleviate some of the main concerns we've had in the past. And that's all I have, and I'll take any questions when you have them.
We'll get to those in new business. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just for clarity of the record, the advertisement is for 3 zoning actions. There's 3 zoning items, or rezoning and 2 conditional use permits. And it just wasn't clear to me if we're going forward with 3 separate public hearings on those, or a consolidated public hearing on all 3. I just wanted to make sure everyone was.
Well, I was going to take each one separate. I know the town manager read all 3 together. I was going to take each one separate.
And I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to open and close each one and go that route.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, I mean, I'm sure you have already seen what our proffered conditions were. So, we're proffering for our rezoning aspect of this, that we have to acquire those lots to create that secondary connection. So that's kind of what our proffered condition is.
Okay. I'll be calling you back here shortly. I have some that would come and like to speak. I don't know if this is one you would like to speak on, but first one is Sydney Watson. If you would, come up, state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I am Cindy Watson. I'm president of the Homeowners Association for Governor's Hill. My address is 1265 Emerald Crest Drive. Just have a couple things. I gave y'all a list so you can kind of see all my points because I have a tendency not to do well with talking. One of the main things I would like to see, and none of the paperwork we've received for this part shows any of the things that were agreed to in the planning commission meeting. One is that these documents that are now in place for the purchase of the 2 pieces of property, which is part of one of the things, needs to all come together somehow and be in something that we have that shows that this is happening. The increased traffic concerns, the big thing we would like is to see Crest Ridge become an emergency entrance, like they talked about in the last plan for the cul-de-sac, to where everything goes in and out, because what's gonna happen, everybody on 122 is gonna cut through your Burks Hill Road entrance, zoom through y'all subdivision, zoom through us to get to 460. That's what they do now. That's what the main problem we have is people coming through the subdivision going to 460 to avoid the traffic lights. We would like to see the Burks Hill Road be the main entrance and all the signage be up there. There has been concern about the equipment coming in and it affecting the people on the Burks Hill side of the entrance. Can we do the landscaping early on that so that helps sound buffer? Also, since they're going to use Burks Hill as the main entrance, they're going to probably, I assume, start up there. Can we give that way so that the people that are on the back side of this have time to plant sound barrier trees, since all the trees are now down? And my last point is that now that all the trees are down, everybody that lives behind there, that's buttoned up to them, now has flooding in their backyard. That needs to be addressed badly and quickly before we have some major erosion and problems with people's houses. Because I actually saw videos from people who live up against this with a little river running through their backyard. That really needs to be addressed. And that's all I have right now. Thank y'all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next person I have is Dale Bruning. Please state your name and your address, please, sir.
Good evening, my name is Dale Bruning. I live at 1247 Emerald Crest Drive. Ooh, here we are. Welcome, new members. Thank you for your time. In a nutshell, I hope God helps you decide where to take this tonight. Listen to Him, and please listen to Him. We should not have R3. There's no need. Because right now that's an expectation of 250-ish homes. Total volume in sales will be about $85 million. I really wish $85 million would come to Bedford and put the money into it, but I don't have the faith in that happening quickly. Progress is made, and we appreciate that. That second exit, if those contracts are complete and verified, let's do this in an R1. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next person is a Rhonda Miles. You would, ma'am, please state your name and address.
My name is Rhonda Miles, and I live at 1251 Emerald Crest Drive. The concerns that I have are somewhat being taken care of. I'm glad you got the second entrance. That helps the traffic in their town, in their neighborhood. And whereas down at the end of Emerald Crest, it would put a big burden on those. I would like to see that as an emergency entrance. And with all the equipment coming in, our roads are gonna be torn up with all the traffic and so forth. Plus, with this being an R3, for 200, say 30 homes, you say you've got 2 adults in each home, you've got teenagers driving, the traffic is gonna increase. I would like to see traffic studies done, and I would like some type of approval where the water and the sewer is not gonna be affected, because some people in the neighborhood are having problems already. It's not that I'm against this housing development. It's nice to grow. I don't think that Bedford has the business to support the 3 different type of neighborhoods that are coming up. We need the business in this town. I would like to see Bedford grow with manufacturing, private businesses, and so forth. I think Bedford is a wonderful town. My grandmother lived here. I have roots back from 1960s. So I'm very fond of Bedford. But other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. All right, that is all I have. Anyone else here to speak? State your name, address, sir.
My name is Mark Rodinas, and I live at 1089 Manita Road. Only thing I have to say is I understand progress, and you know, that's all well and fine. I've been in touch with Jamie a little bit here and there to find out what's going on. Where I am, the second entrance will be coming up on my side now, and obviously everybody's saying 75% of the traffic will probably be coming my way. Well, that road will pass right by 400 feet of my property line. So I built a brand new house down in the woods about 7 years ago, figuring it would be my forever house, and I'm down in the woods but close to town, and now I'll have the road right alongside the property line running right up through. I've spoken to Mr. White. He's been very accommodating to me, and said that they'll do whatever they can do to make everything work for me. My big concern was I just found out that this will be a long, ongoing project, whether it's 5 to 7 years, 7 to 10 years, with all the heavy equipment coming in just once down on the bottom. The main action will all be from Burks Hill right by the property, by my property. So they've indicated that, and I've checked with zoning, and you know, you have to have the sight and sound barrier. So normally that stuff's done at the end of the project. I'm thinking they would probably try to dial it up a little bit coming into the project for when they're ready to start selling the stuff off. So I'm hoping that sight and sound might happen before the end of the project, 7 years, so I don't have to deal with the dirt and the sand and the noise flying back and forth for 7 years of construction, because that's the one in and out. Other than that, it's progress. I love this town. Came here 20 years ago, and hopefully it'll just continue to grow and prosper. So but that's really about all I got to say. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Anyone else? Then the public hearing for this is closed. And the second one, a public hearing for conditional use permit for a model home office. You want to read it again, or just go with it?
You want me to?
Okay. All right, Mr. White, you want to come up and talk about the conditional use permit for the model home office?
So we're going to do all the public hearings and then vote all at the end of it?
Well, I think we've gotten all the public hearings from the people who want to talk. We're going to take each one of these on the public hearings. You'll present
Sure.
each one then, when we get to the new business.
Okay.
Then we'll get into our discussion, and
Sure.
we'll probably bring you back up.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you. So let me just back up on a couple of things. I just want to address some of the comments that came out from residents who spoke. I know some people there was a discussion about water adequacy and sewer adequacy. BRWA has done that look already. There's adequate water. I will say that what we're going to do is connect water from Crest Ridge in the existing stuff. We're going to be looping it back out to Berkshire Road. Looping that water through would also be a big benefit to water service in that area, allowing water to be fed from a different location as well. That helps reduce friction loss in pipe runs and things of that nature, depending on where it's coming from and how it needs to get there. It could help alleviate some of the issues if somebody's having pressure problems or things of that nature.
All right.
The construction entrance, our initial move on to the property to do the grading work will come through the existing Governor's Hill. There's an existing home in the way of where we've got to get through, so we can't bring the construction equipment right through that. We're going to bring the initial dirt moving equipment. It'll be one trip in with that equipment. That'll all be moved onto site, and then that'll be left there for the duration of the grading operation. Then the traffic would be during that process would just be, individual pickups and vehicles from the construction employees that'll just coming to and from the site, be normal vehicle traffic. At the end of the bulk grading, which we have proffered, as we get the bulk grading done, we're moving all the construction entrance stuff up to Berkshire Road, so that'll be the primary access point for any commercial traffic, construction traffic in or out, and that's where they'll be directed to go to. So that will alleviate, we won't have a bunch of, Lowe's trucks or, whoever, carpenters and plumbers and things of that nature trucking all in and out. I'm saying that they couldn't come through that way if they're coming from, further west and kind of cut through that way, but the bulk of that traffic will be coming in from the Berkshire Road side. So in looking at our conditional use permit request on this property, what we would like to have is a model home. So in having a model home on lots of that size, the lot isn't big enough to accommodate a model home and adequate parking, because we don't want people parked out onto public roadways. So what we want to do is take 2 lots, build a model home that will have different finishes, different cabinets, different flooring options for people to come to. Look at all those options, look at the different facade mixes and things of that nature, what they could get on here, and make their decision. And we want to have enough parking on the neighboring lot to accommodate so people aren't parking in the road. This is not a 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 7 days a week operation. The plan is to have somebody there twice a week, one day during the week, maybe a Saturday or Sunday. That would kind of be somebody there to talk to people if they want to come and talk about building a home at the location. So that is our request for the model home. Once we get to a point to where the neighborhood is established, towards the end of the project, that would be a thing where that model home would be renovated and converted into a house for sale, and it'll just be a single family home. And the lot that we have the parking lot on, that will be regraded out, and that will become a single family home lot as well.
Okay.
All right.
That's
all for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there was a concern that you may not have used the magic word of open to open the second public hearing, so you.
I open it, and now I close it. Thank you.
Don't close it yet, you want to make sure you give the public a chance to.
Oh, did anyone else want to come back up and speak on this one? Okay. Then let me,
I know these are all confusing.
yeah, no. Do I need to open it back up?
It wouldn't hurt to read.
Okay. This one is open back up. We'll get it right eventually.
The only thing I have is that if, and I explained this to Bo Ware and Planning Commission in the last meeting, instead of the Lot 1 and Lot 2 that are listed on the permit requests, they use Lot 25 and 26, which are the first actual 2 home lots up near the Berks Hill Road entrance. which would be smart because you'd want it to be near where you're gonna have people coming in, not at the back of it. And also to take into consideration, and I told Bo Ware this at the planning commission meeting, this is a big subdivision. And they're gonna have to have an HOA. At some point, you may wanna talk to the HOA and set up your HOA and let them buy those 2 lots and make that an office for the HOA. It's just something to keep in mind, that because with that many, you're gonna have a lot of stuff being dealt with on a regular basis. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a concern about Burks Hill Road, getting out.
If you would state your name again.
I'm sorry, Rhonda Miles,
Okay.
1251 Emerald Crest. With industrial, with the businesses there, and the traffic coming from Manita, Smith Mountain Way, and then people from in town going towards Smith Mountain and off of 460, I feel like something needs to be done, some stoplights, turning lanes, this sort of thing. Because he says it's gonna be certain traffic, but once he gets this community up and going, there's gonna be a lot of traffic in and out of there. But that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Then this public hearing is closed officially. Okay, the third one, conditional use permit for townhouses at tax map 146B-1-IT in the B2 zoning district. Well, this hearing is open.
For this conditional use permit request, I'm representing Mr. Kevin Benhorst. He's in the attendance today as well. So part of our requirements to get up to Burks Hill Road is the acquisition of some properties to get there. Mr. Benhorst has worked with us to make this happen. So after the acquisition of his property, obviously we would like to build townhouses, something a little more higher density up on that end of the property. His property is in a B2, so we can do townhomes in a B2 with a conditional use permit. That is our request. Our townhouses would be all on the Benhorst property, and then it would feed a little bit into the original two lots on the upper side of the hill, where it's a little flatter up in that area. And then, you know, we have talked to our neighbors that are adjoining there, and we're going to do things to accommodate him as well. We proffered to give access off of that road so he could access it from the Benhorst side of the property there as well. Obviously, this would be multifamily by requirement, in a multifamily, if we're up against a residential use that we have to do our screening and things of that nature. So that would be part of the site plan process that we were on.
Thank you. Would anyone like to come up and speak on this one, this public hearing? State your name again, sir.
Dale Ruddick, 1247 Emerald Crest Drive. Please, no high-density housing. No R3. Keep it at R1. Keep it manageable. Keep it simple. Keep your citizens who are already in place happy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? And this public hearing is closed. All right. Public hearing for conditional use permit for homesteading.
Notice is given of 2 public hearings to be held by the town council at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 8th at the town municipal building for the purpose of hearing requests for 2 conditional use permits by the Raintree Family Trust for homestay use for Raintree properties located at 926 Lake Drive, identified as tax parcel 153-A-10T, and 1135 Lakeview Lane on tax parcel 153-A-3T. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. Anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall now have an opportunity to express his or her views.
All right, the public hearing is open for conditional use permit for homestead tax map number 153A10T in the R1 district. Yes, Philip and Barbara Raintree, come on up, state your names, address, and what you have planned.
I'm Barbara Braintree. I live at 1003 Big Island Highway here in Bedford.
Philip Braintree, 1003 Big Island Highway.
All right. So what do you plan on doing? And you're wanting to have a homestay?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and explain it.
Okay, when you travel to a different community, where do you want to stay? Think of a clean, convenient, lovely place that is also unique, comfortable, and intriguing, where you can enjoy privacy and a quiet neighborhood that is both safe and welcoming. So I'm Barbara Raintree, and this is my husband, Phil Raintree, and we're the proud owners of Gateway Cottage. It's at 926 Lake Drive. Homestays provide an affordable and unique getaway that many travelers prefer. I'd like to preview the main points that I want to cover. Historically, the Reynolds family built their home on 10 acres west of Peak Street, the first house in that area. Next, homestays support the town of Bedford in several meaningful ways. And finally, what's special about our Gateway Cottage? Gateway Cottage is historically the original home site in the area. It's just up the hill from the town lake, which is also on Lake Drive, as you know. We want to honor the legacy of the Reynolds family. This was their family home for almost 100 years. We know that our Gateway Cottage, formerly the Reynolds home place, will actually contribute to the development of our town and the pride of its citizens. Family visits from extended family and friends will be memorable to those who find a homestay that they love. Did you know that there are at least 14 wedding venues in Bedford County? Wedding guests, attendants of the special couple, even the bride and groom can find a homestay at Gateway Cottage. Bedford provides a midway point for several tourist attractions, including Smith Mountain Lake, majestic peaks of Otter with its hiking trails and beautiful Abbott Lake, the Appalachian Trail and Blue Ridge Parkway, the impressive D-Day Memorial, beautiful parks with spaces for biking, hiking, fishing and disc golf, family reunions, and picnicking. Homestays provide the perfect place to call home while traveling and visiting. What makes our Gateway Cottage stand out? It's a small house, but it has large rooms with plenty of outdoor space. We have made special considerations for all ages. Extras include 2 decks, landscaping with flowers and shrubbery, immaculate lawns, a split rail fence, a chicken coop, and a fire pit with lawn chairs. We also have artwork by local artisans Wynn Creasy, Lisa Mansell, and Mark Calhoun. We also have a collection of prints by folk artist Queen of Stovall of Amherst. As a homestay, we expect to recommend local shops, restaurants, and tourist attractions. To conclude, our Gateway Cottage is an excellent example of a homestay for the Bedford community. To reiterate, It was home to the Reynolds family of Bedford for almost 100 years. Homestays support the town of Bedford and its residents in several meaningful ways. And I've also mentioned several ways that our Gateway Cottage is a special place to stay. We are so very proud to present our Gateway Cottage as a Bedford homestay. We thank you for your foresight in making this possible for our town of Bedford. We invite you to come have a look for yourselves and your out-of-town guests, or just a special weekend getaway for yourselves. Phil?
Any questions?
If we
It's
do,
kind of
we'll get,
difficult because we're doing two different
yeah,
hearings, so.
yeah, we've got the next one to go, but I'll ask if there are any comments. You all may sit down, and I'll probably call you right back up if
Okay.
nobody has any comments. Would anybody like to make any comments on this homestay? Then this public hearing is closed. Now, conditional use permit for homestay at tax map number 153-A-3T in the R1 district. This public hearing is now open. Go ahead.
Philip Braintree, 1003 McGowan Highway, Bedford.
I'm Barbara Braintree, 1003 Gunner Highway, Bedford.
Thank you.
I get this one. What are our motivations for this request? Renting our property as a homestay allows us to be connected to the neighborhood in ways that traditional rental does not allow. In other words, we have rental property and we've decided this is what we want to do with it instead of renting. We've been traditional landlords before, we don't want to go down that road again. We prefer not to. Our guests, see, we maintain the house, the yard, and we will monitor our guests. Our guests are our guests, but we are their neighbors. We've lived in Bedford for 40 years. We have a small farm at the edge of town on 122. We bought the house at 926 Lake that she was just talking about with the intention of moving there when we downsized. But we kind of figured out after a while that downsizing from a 6,000 square foot house to a 1,000 square foot house was not going to be practical or easy. So last year, it became available and we purchased the property at 1135 Lakeview Lane as our future home. So we're going to move there when we downsize. It actually touches the property. It's just right behind it. So the two are together. Our homestay properties would be good for the town, the neighborhood, and for us personally. There's a lot of emphasis on growing Bedford, about making Bedford a destination. There's also concern for maintaining its small town nature. Our proposed homestays will work to make visits to our town attractive and memorable by offering a genuine and comfortable lodging experience in a safe, quiet neighborhood. Both properties are on spacious wooded lots totaling almost 5 acres with abundant wildlife, giving them the feel and privacy of being in the country. Our homestays will be available for our neighbors to conveniently host out-of-town guests and family. I have spoken with all 10 of our adjacent neighbors and have only gotten positive responses and encouragement. Renting as a homestay allows us the option to use the property for our own personal family visits and vacations. We have 5 children who have children, and they all live in our town. So, renting as a homestay allows us to maintain a close connection to the property and to the neighborhood. We anticipate an occupancy rate between 50% to 75%. We plan to rent 926 Lake to couples, and we plan to rent the 1135 Lakeview Lane to larger families with a maximum of 6 adults. We would not allow events or gatherings. There should be no increase in traffic. Both properties have ample off-street parking. Each has 3 spaces. We would expect and request that our guests respect the quiet neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make comments towards the homestays? On the tax map number 153-A-3T. And this public hearing is closed. All right, no consent agenda, no old business, new business. Ordinance real estate tax fiscal year, Mr. Warner.
Section 58.1-3005 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended requires that the council annually levy a tax on all real estate located within the town. The attached ordinance before you establishes a tax rate for fiscal year 2025-26 of 28 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. The ordinance has been posted in accordance with Section 2-54 of the Town Code. The total real estate assessment for the town of Bedford increased by approximately 1.37%. This increase was due to new construction. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider adoption of the ordinance establishing the real estate tax rate for fiscal year 2025-2026 at 28 cents per $100 of assessed valuation.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, Councilman Haley made the motion and Councilman Foreman seconded it. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right. Ordinance personal property tax for calendar year 2025.
Section 58.1-3005 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended requires that council shall annually levy a tax on tangible personal property located within the town. The ordinance before you establishes a tax rate for calendar year 2025 of $1.06 per $100 of 100% of assessed value on all taxable tangible personal property with the exception of certain items defined in Section 58.1-3505. All tangible personal property employed in a trade or business other than that described in subdivisions 1 through 16 of Section 58.1-3503 is taxed at a levy of, I think that's actually 1/1,000,000th of a cent, or it's 1/100,000. Either way, it's practically nothing, which is the intent, per $100 of 100% of the assessed valuation. One vehicle owned by disabled veterans are taxed at the same practically nothing rate per $100 of 100% of assessed value, separately classified in Section 58.1-3506, subsection A, subsection 19. The ordinance also establishes a tax rate of practically nothing per $100 of 100% of assessed valuation on machinery and tools as classified in Section 58.1-3507. Motor carriers is separately classified in Section 58.1.3506, and motor vehicles with a seating capacity of not less than 30 persons, including the driver, as classified in Section 58.1-3506, subsection A, subsection 39. The ordinance has been posted in accordance with Section 2-54 of the Town Code. Tonight, Town Council is requested to adopt the ordinance establishing the personal property tax rate for calendar year 2025.
All right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
second. Councilman Austin made the motion, Councilman Evans made the second. Any discussion?
Maybe. You know, on the previous one with the increase in the
with the real estate assessment, we had an increase there. I was a little hesitant to vote yes on that one. When we've got the, like the 1/1,000,000th or 1/100th of a thousandth of, you know, some of these others on these where we could have moved these up where they would have been still very minimal impact on those that it would have affected, and the other would have had no impact on the real estate. It seems like we could have gone a little bit, a very little bit on one and not affected the other one at all. Especially when we talk about very little, less than pennies on the dollar.
I see what you're saying. Any comments?
I guess, can you say that again? I mean, are you saying that what we just voted on, we increased the tax, and then what we're voting on now is not? I can't.
Well, I just question raising the tax on the previous action.
We didn't raise it.
We didn't raise it.
It's 28 cents.
No, just get the tax rate the same.
The assessed values.
That was from the assessment.
Okay,
Yeah, that-
From new construction.
so the increase is for new instruction, okay,
Yeah. Tax rate stayed the same.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, I see.
And on the card day, if I remember correct me, we've been doing this for years, but we stayed at 100%. Most places, localities is not at 100%, correct?
Yeah, our real rate is effectively 53%.
Okay, yeah, we've talked about that before,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay.
Okay.
Well, every year when we go through our budget, we usually start off with a plan, and then somebody decides, okay, well, we need a little bit more here, and we take away from that plan, and we get diverted away from what we started off with, and there are always good reasons for doing that. And it just seems like I said, we've got these things in the budget, but 1/1,000,000th of a cent, why?
The answer to that is, that goes back to reversion. You have the right to charge this tax. It's established at that rate, so it does not have any practical effect, but it still exists. If you did away with that right, you'd have a hard time getting it back. So it's established at a rate that's practically nothing, so you would have the ability to increase that if it were the desire of a majority of council to do so.
You don't want to give it away, basically.
No, I'm not saying we give it away. I'm saying that every year we have budget, we cut things from budgets because we can't afford things that the community needs. You know, positions, personnel, equipment. You know, we took the electric department, they didn't get trucks last year because we had to buy transformers for somebody. But we've got this mechanism here, again, that, again, 1/1,000,000th of a cent, we could raise that and, create the $175,000 that, John needed for a truck last year or whatever. Well, I guess we can do a budget amendment moving forward if we so desire. I'm just, again, 1/1,000th of a cent. I just think that even at a penny on a, we could raise money to fund some of the things that the community needs, and still not impact anyone too adversely. That's all I got.
Ready for roll call? Roll call? John?
Mr. Foreman.
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Haley.
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito.
Aye.
Mr. Updike.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right, resolution setting percentage tax rate to exhaust PPTRA relief funds 2025.
The Virginia General Assembly in 1998 passed the Personal Property Tax Relief Act with the philosophy that relief would be gradually implemented to eliminate personal property tax on personal use motor vehicles. By 2004, the Virginia General Assembly had revised its philosophy and capped the contribution from the Commonwealth to localities for reimbursement for personal property taxes. As a result, the then City Council on November 22, 2005, in accordance with state statutes, adopted an ordinance which provided that the funds to be reimbursed to the then City of Bedford by the Commonwealth would be allocated in such a manner as to eliminate personal property taxation on each qualifying vehicle with an assessed value of $1,000 or less, and that the council would set annually by resolution a percentage of relief in respect to assessed values of more than $1,000 as applied to the first $20,000 in value of each such qualifying vehicle, so as to fully exhaust the PPTRA funds provided to the city by the Commonwealth. The funding and methodology of the PPTRA remained the same upon the reversion of the city to a town. The amount received from the state, $280,647, is allocated toward personal property tax relief in the town of Bedford for calendar year 2025. For calendar year 2024, a rate of 100% on the first $20,000 of assessed value was adopted, and the total relief applied to personal property bills was $487,533. Council is asked to consider adopting a PPTRA rate of 100% for fiscal year 2025. Tonight, Town Council is requested to adopt the resolution before you as recommended by staff.
All right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Foreman made the motion and Councilman Haley made the second. Any discussion?
I want to make a point, just so, guys, kind of to go on the record. So, our citizens understand that the state gave us $280,000 to provide personal property tax relief and to make sure that you don't pay tax on that first $20,000. The town chipped in about a little over $200,000 to make sure that you didn't have to pay that tax. I just wanted to kind of let everybody know that that's a benefit the town has provided for our citizens.
Yes. Very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Anything else? John?
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Haley.
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito.
Aye.
Mr. Updike.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Foreman.
Aye.
Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right, budget amendment for electric capital expenditures.
The Town Electric Department would like to request additional funding for capital improvement items for the remainder of fiscal year 2025. The budget amendment requested would consider appropriating fees paid by customers for system development and the remaining contingency in the capital fund. Several projects have been put on hold that the additional funds would allow to go forward, including switch replacements at various locations throughout the system, acquisition of commercial meters, integration of outer sensors into the SCADA system, underground circuit replacements, and internal fiber system extension to the Snowden hydroelectric plant. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve the budget amendment, which will appropriate budget to the general ledger accounts as follows: an increase in the revenue line item in the electric operating fund entitled Recoveries and Rebates of $226,053. In the revenue line item in the electric general capital fund of recoveries and rebates of $128,912, and a revenue increase in the electric capital line item entitled Transfer in Electric of $226,053. There would be a corresponding expenditure decrease in the line item in the electric capital budget identified as contingency of $35,035, an expenditure increase in the electric operating line item entitled Transfer to Electric Capital Projects of $226,053, an expenditure increase in the electric capital line item identified as Hydro Infrastructure Improvements of $40,000, and an increase in the expenditure line item in the electric capital budget entitled Infrastructure Improvements and Extensions of $350,000.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Haley made the motion and Councilman Foster made the second. Discussions.
One question. This is the $1 million that we set aside last year. Is this the end of the $1 million that we?
I think it pretty much covers it, yes.
I'll go. You broke, John.
What else? Roll call.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
Okay. Ordinance changing the zoning map.
On March 6, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to recommend whether undeveloped property located behind the Governor's Hill development should be rezoned from low-density residential R1 to high-density residential R3. The use requested is for single-family dwelling units on lots with a minimum size of 6,000 square feet and 50 feet of road frontage. In addition, townhouses are proposed in various locations, similar in size to attached units in the existing Governor's Hill development. At the public hearing, the applicant described the project as an extension of the existing development and its lot standards, and noted the owners would provide 33 feet of land to adjoining existing residential lots if approved. 5 residents in the existing development and an adjoining lot spoke with varying opinions, from opposition to some support for the new access. Primary concerns were density, the potential for increased traffic through Governor's Hill, drainage and stormwater issues from previous phases, builder construction quality, and the desire for the entrance out to Burks Hill Road / Moneta Road. The commissioners discussed the timing of construction and concern for heavy equipment coming through the Governor's Hill subdivision. There was a strong desire for development to begin from the Burks Hill Road side to alleviate the heavy construction for infrastructure for roads, stormwater management, and water and sewer lines. There was also concern for an assurance of the access to Burks Hill Road. The commission made a first motion to table the request until the April meeting in order to get additional written proffers signed by an owner prior to commission action, to include that all road construction would occur before house construction, confirm timing of acquiring adjoining land, concern for townhouses among single-family units, and the lack of open space. That motion failed by a vote of 2 to 5. Commissioners made a second motion of recommendation to rezone the parcels to R3 with the existing written proffers for the 33 feet of land to be given to adjoining parcels and the model home hours, and contingent upon the developer proffering new conditions in writing prior to the town council meeting, to include that the infrastructure will all be done before the construction of the housing begins, that the properties transfer from Lighthouse Free Will Baptist Church and Kevin Venhorst to the developer, and to provide the subdivision with the secondary entrance to Burks Hill / Moneta Road. The motion to recommend approval contingent on receiving proffers passed with a vote of 5 members for and 2 members against. The developer has since provided additional proffers. They have provided a phased graphic that shows the heavy road construction in Phase 1 with access to Burks Hill/Moneta Road in red. Council is not obligated to accept proffered conditions, but if they do, proffers must be formally accepted through an ordinance. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider an ordinance to rezone tax parcels 251-A-1T and 251-A-2T from R1 to R3 with proffered conditions.
All right. Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, Councilman Haley make the motion. And Vice Mayor
Motion
Updike,
to approve the
second.
ordinance.
Okay. Mr. White, come on up. Let's, here's the Q&A.
Meet again.
Yeah, that's right. What questions do we have? The land for the road is.
Yeah, we forwarded the contract.
Pardon, this is a very point of order. Can we clarify that the motion is to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
With proffers.
Oh, with the proffers, we have to do that, or?
Well, the proffers are contained in the ordinance as circulated.
As long as so moved was to approve the ordinance presented, it wasn't clear that that's what so moved necessarily meant.
Well, I guess
Make sure.
we normally don't
Yeah,
do that.
you were asked to consider, so moved doesn't really answer
Because
it.
this didn't have a recommendation necessarily.
Well, should we withdraw that and discuss it first? Or,
I think you need an actionable motion. Basically, what you have before you is a motion to consider, which I think is a bit of an issue.
you just need us to say, make a motion to approve.
Correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to say?
That was
Second.
second.
That was the intent.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. That's why you're here, Jeremy. You earned your pay.
Just trying to keep it straight in the minutes when they come back next time.
Yes, thank you. All right, what questions?
I just had a couple, it shouldn't be. So you made the comment, I just want to make sure I've got clarity. You said that basically once mobilized, all the heavy equipment will stay in the development area until the
Yeah, so
graded.
initial movement onto the site for heavy equipment will be from Crestridge Drive. Once we get the bulk grading done, and then that's heavy equipment moved on once, and then there'll be personal vehicles for employees to come and do the work. Once bulk grading is complete, we get the connection back up, and then we're going to move the construction entrance up to Burks Hill Road.
And that equipment will have to come through Crest Hill.
In the initial, yeah. And just so everybody's aware, I mean, the roads were originally designed to VDOT standards, is what it's supposed to be designed to. VDOT road design guidelines, when you do those road designs, it accounts for a 5% heavy traffic load. Obviously, there's not that kind of 5% load is never happening here. So accessing it once with some heavy equipment, it still be under that threshold of a 5% load onto it. So shouldn't damage the road for a single entry onto that point, but all that rest of that stuff will happen from Burks Hill Road once we get all the bulk grading done.
This is probably more, you're an engineer, so it's probably more an opinion, but I can't remember. I know his first name was Mark, but he made a comment about, on the Burks Hill side, about stormwater, draining right now onto his property or other people's property. Do you think that the stormwater management you do on that side will take care of that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we have to design it that way to make sure that happens. I mean, we have to run through the analysis of what the pre-developed runoff is for the area. We have to do some type of detention, usually it's going to be an open detention pond. That's just if you got the space, that's the easiest thing to build, easiest thing to maintain. I will say that in this area, there's two aspects of stormwater management. One is quantity control, so you don't cause downstream erosion or flooding. The other part is water quality treatment for the water that runs off. In this area, I would say in a lot of areas we work, the state allows us to buy offsite nutrient credits. So that means an agricultural farm who's not required to do it, they do improvements downstream or in the same watershed, we buy credits so that we don't have to do on-site treatment of the water. That's not allowable in this area because of current stream conditions, okay? So we have to do all of our on-site quality treatment is going to be on-site as well. And I feel like that's a better application. It makes sure that the water that's leaving the site in your nearby vicinity is clean instead of just quantity control. So I think it's a better way to do it, in my opinion, but you know, the state allows us to buy credits where it's available, but that would not be the case here.
So I got two or three questions. One, where the trees were removed on the back side of the property right there. I know there's stumps and stuff down through there. You plan on cleaning all that off once you give the people their property to put grass out, something for the 33?
Sure, yeah. So what we would do is we'll come through there and pull the stumps and then reseed those areas. Obviously, what we're going to give that 33 feet. However, we need to capture the water that's on our side and get it to our downstream detention pond. So there will be some level of, I know it kind of drops off to some of those houses on the lower side of the subdivision. We're going to put diversion berms along that edge so the water will not run off of our site onto those lots. I know it kind of does that now, just the natural topography, but we're going to berm that up because we have to capture our on-site water as much as possible to get it into the detention pond so we can meet our minimum stormwater requirements.
And part of the infrastructure, I think y'all talked about it last time, you plan on putting all the infrastructure in that at one go at phase?
Yeah, so all the bulk grading has to happen at the same time because it's, lots being as small as they are, we need to make sure that we're padding out sites and things of that nature on the front side. We don't want to be left with a lot of waste or be in need of fill material towards the end of the project. So we're going to bulk grade the entire site. We did submit kind of a shaded area of where our primary access is going to be coming through. So all of the road construction from Crest Ridge Drive, from that stub, and getting the road and network built all the way back up to Burks Hill Road, that would include sanitary sewer and looping the water line back out to Burks Hill Road, back over to Crest Ridge, will all be done before we can build any homes, we'll get any certificates of occupancy for any homes out there. So it's a larger development, so some of that infrastructure for some of the upper roads, we'll have it all graded out. They will be seeded and strawed, covered based on minimum requirements. We have to get that grass establishment there if we're not actively working on it or have some type of other impervious surface there. So our focus is to get the road in because we want to make sure we get all our access in and get in and out. Now, obviously, we'll come back later and do connection strips on the upper ends of it, but it will pretty much, everything will be bulk graded on the front side of it.
And when it's approved, all the contracts will go into play with the second entrance and all that stuff, correct?
That's right. So our contracts for the two properties in question to get our connection are all contingent on tonight's vote. So if we get an approval tonight, then those contracts will be executed for closing. I don't know how long that usually takes, but there's a couple of things that we have to do with additional survey work because we need to cut off the land and give it to our neighbors. And then we need to establish where that's going to be and then recreate and bring in a portion of the church's property and the Van Horst property that'll all become one parcel with our other two. So just how long it takes for us to get through a normal plat process, which we think a plat process will be about 90 days by the time we get the survey to do his work, send it in for review, comments, and get that approved for recordation. And then it'll be a thing just to schedule and closing after that. Key thing is that we're not looking, and we've proffered to where we would have no certificates of occupancy on any residential units in the development until we get our secondary access road and it's active.
I just wanted to say that I did walk the property. It's a great view of the mountains from up on top of the property out there. So.
I'm just glad that another entrance has been granted. It's taken.
This has been a long road to get to this point for sure. I mean, it's you know, I guess it's what makes things interesting is they're a challenge. We've met a lot of people, and hopefully, and I know the developer. A couple of them are here today. They do quality work and are well established in what they do. We've done multiple large-scale developments and created a good product. After we in and out, and obviously they're you know, when things happen, you know, there's some, you know, if a review agency comes out and do their inspections and something ain't right, I mean, it's a requirement. We'll get in there and take care of things. But when we leave a development, typically we leave with good neighbors. So that's what we want to do here.
Mr. Warner, just one question. So we'll have an engineering firm or somebody be able to, just for the neighbors, questions about some of the things that are happening. Will we have somebody, we'll have somebody that's able, have the ability to check behind?
Yes, actually, and I can tell you, we have Hurt and Profit under contract for that purpose.
Okay. And not
And I would say, I mean, obviously, there's a couple of different people that have a responsibility for following up with what's going on site. Some of that's the town's responsibility. Obviously, E&S and stormwater management stuff is handled by Kevin and Amy at the county level. And I would encourage, and I know we had a community meeting earlier on last fall. I definitely encourage anybody that has an issue can contact the town, contact the county. If it's a stormwater E&S issue, if you don't get a resolution, even though the county handles, it's all permitted through the state. So state DEQ office, if you're having some issues where something is happening and you're not satisfied with it. So.
And thank you for getting the extra.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're hoping for. You know, we tried years ago. It's a complicated process to get that to happen. We were hoping to work it out last go around. It's just we could not get a commitment from the church. They don't operate on business speed. So, but then they have a lot of rules and requirements if they're selling land that they have to meet. So, you know, they have to go through their proper procedures to get that done. And luckily, we got the final contract with them last week. So
It's a nonprofit, so they.
That's right.
Different avenues.
That's exactly right.
Any more questions? Go ahead.
I just have one more simple one.
Sure.
This is just for my clarity. You had commented earlier that you or the developer will work with the town on any of the Section 2 stormwater
Sure.
issues.
Yeah, so, and we definitely, I mean, we know that there's a problem there. There should have been two curb in that's installed at the bottom of that hill to capture that water. When you got roll top curb, there's not enough of a channel there to capture that water, especially coming off that speed. And we'll stub over there to get something to connect to that routes it around. Obviously, that water has to be routed around Crest Ridge Drive homes, but it cannot go into our stormwater pond because that's water that we shouldn't be treating or detaining. So we're going to run a line and get it bypassed around that house on the corner, which is, it's too small to see here, but that bottom corner house on Crest Ridge Drive, we're going to pipe it around their lot, but that'll be between our stormwater management pond and their property line, so that gets the water around.
One last question. Timeline, how does this plays out in timeline? How does it play out when you first start? What is the first phase? Where are you going to go to the second phase? Stuff like that. I know it's going to probably be a 10-year project. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're hoping to be out of there sooner. As far as what we're starting this week, we'll be submitting for bulk grading plans at the county level. To get that process started, it takes about 60 days for review to get those reviewed, and then whatever comments they come back with, I mean, we've got to go through the proper permitting process for that. We're hoping to start construction probably in about 60 days from now. Bulk grading, I mean, that's going to be a few months of actually grading the site, getting our stormwater management ponds installed, you know, getting the homes demolished on the existing parcels, on the Ben Horse property, and getting our connection back. While that's happening, we still have a lot of infrastructure design plans that have to go through. We're going to design it all and put strategic locations for stubs and future connectivity for water lines and things like that. So there's easy connections as they do the second and third road, the middle road and the upper road on the plan. But our focus is to get along the bottom, get the Crest Ridge stuff tied in, move all the way back up, and then across the Ben Horse property up to, and all that infrastructure and all that work will be done. I would say it's probably a 10 to 12 month process to get infrastructure installed for that part of it. And that's just a guess. I mean, it all depends on weather. I mean, obviously we get a bunch of rain, that slows us way down.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
And in the roadways that you have going through here, do y'all have something in reference to the traffic of people zooming through? Like speed bumps, the stop signs?
You know, we have not designated any location for traffic calming devices such as speed bumps or something like that. Typically, when we design a VDOT roadway, that's the last thing they want to see in the roadway through a neighborhood street. Obviously, we would be happy to work with the town as we go through this process. Obviously, it's going to take us some time to get to the very final completion. If we realize we're getting some cut-through traffic once that thing is well established, we'll definitely work with town engineering folks, and if there needs to be a speed bump added to help slow some traffic down, I'm hoping that people coming to a residential neighborhood are respectful to the type of people that are there, because there's kids there and things of that nature. But usually something like that on a neighborhood street is a reactive thing, that you see a problem, then you try to address those problems. We don't usually design that on the front side of it unless it's something at an intersection.
Yeah, because I know they're building a subdivision beside of us, and they had to put up gates because people are cutting.
Yeah, now this will be public roadway, so this would be town road. I guess that's, and then VDOT doesn't have anything to do with town roads other than maintenance costs and things of that nature. But it will be a public highway, residential street is what it will be.
And as far as the gentleman back here, I understand you're wanting to stay R1, but at the same time with an R1, you can't have condos. And I think Bedford's in need of condos. And, not everybody can, we keep building all these $300,000 and $400,000 houses, but there's people in Bedford that can't afford $300,000 and $400,000 houses that can afford a condo, and we need to make space for those people that doesn't make the money that can afford those houses in there. But I do want you to know that I do hear and I do understand you, but at the same time, with leaving it as an R1, then it has to just stay houses and be, you get bigger yards, you get few houses, but at the same time, we're still keeping all these expensive houses, and we need to think too of the people that can't afford the big expensive houses, to keep condos and stuff in place for some of those. But I do understand you. Keep talking.
Yes, sir.
He just told you, if he doesn't get what he wants, the property sales don't go through. He just told you, if he doesn't get what he wants, those two properties are not going through. I humbly disagree with the amount of housing that's going in this area. Townhomes are great. 105-ish townhomes, too many. If you want to have a townhome subdivision, have one. Great idea. You want to have a single-family home residence? Great idea. Don't pack them in where they shouldn't be, please. That's what I'm asking.
Thank you.
One day I gotta ask, if y'all start construction, don't start before 7 o'clock. I think it's because, most times, I know when they was cutting timber over there, it was over about 5:30 in the morning, sometimes 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah.
If you can do something like that, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And please respect Mark, because the people that's doing our subdivision does not respect us at all.
I guess, Bart, I guess at some point if you could take the new chief through just so he could start formulating some ideas as far as enforcement strategies.
I imagine he's already on top of that, but I certainly.
It wouldn't surprise me, but
Good deal. All right. Bart, you got anything? Good. Vice Mayor, you okay?
so far.
Y'all okay? Good? Okay. John?
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right, next is a resolution conditional use permit for a model home office.
On March 6, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to recommend whether undeveloped property located behind the Governor's Hill development should be rezoned from low-density residential R1 to high-density residential R3. Secondary to that rezoning request, a separate conditional use permit application was heard to request a model home with office and off-street parking on the first 2 lots of the proposed new subdivision, numbered lots 1 and 2, on parcel 251-A-2T. The applicant said the model home and lot for parking would be converted to 2 homes that will be sold as part of the subdivision when they were not needed. Although the written condition does not define days, the developer said the model will be open in a variation of 2 days with limited times after 5:00 p.m. by appointment. 3 citizens spoke at the hearing for the request after the related rezoning request. 2 speakers asked if the model home lots could be moved to the other tax map parcel that will be accessed from Burks Hill Road onto the lots numbered 25 and 26 on the concept plan. 1 citizen spoke about their future desire for a zoning change on their adjoining property. The model home was requested by the applicant to be on tax parcel 251-A-2T, but both parcels were advertised for hearing. 1 condition was offered by the applicant, notably model home/sales office shall limit hours of operation to be between 8:00 a.m. and 5:00 p.m., plus by appointment only after 5:00 p.m. The commission made a motion to recommend approval of the model home office use with 2 conditions as follows. 1, move the 2 model home office lots to tax map number 251-A-1T. 2, model home/sales office shall limit hours of operation to be between 8:00 a.m. and 5:00 p.m., plus by appointment only after 5:00 p.m. The motion with the 2 conditions passed unanimously. The related rezoning request must first occur to change the zoning to allow an office to be requested. That was just granted. Council may amend the conditions or add conditions as you deem appropriate. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider a resolution for a conditional use permit at tax parcel 251-A-1T from R1 to R3 with the 2 conditions attached and recommended by the Planning Commission.
To make sure I understand this model home is going to be at lots 25 and 26, is that?
So that was the discussion that we had at Planning Commission. Our original discussion was to have it on lots 1 and 2. That would be down towards where the stormwater management pond is. This other open space right there. That's still our preference. We would prefer to have it at 1 and 2. If council deems that it's a necessity to move it to lots 25 and 26, we would be acceptable to that. But we would like it to be where we had originally had said. We think that would just be a better location for it.
Okay. So I guess tonight we need to verify what we're going to vote on tonight before we take a motion.
That's right.
So we need to discuss.
Well, I could make the, well.
Well,
we're
yeah,
gonna talk
I mean, the
about it.
planning commission recommended
I was gonna-
lots 25 and 26.
That's what I was gonna make the
Yeah.
motion.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, that was what I was gonna make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I make the motion, that we, recommend the approval with the two conditions. It's move the model homes to office to tax map number 251A 1T, which would be the lots with 25 and, yeah, 26. And mobile home set, then the sales office open between 8 and 5 and by appointment and only after 5.
Second.
Okay. Did you get that, Sean?
Mr. Haley, second?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any discussion?
One of the things that I've noticed this whole process, initially, the existing residents, I thought they had some real good concerns, valid concerns, and but throughout the process, it seemed like that you and the developer had answers, had reasonable answers to meet those concerns. During the meeting at the planning committee, I'm thinking that moving the model home and the parking lot from lots 1 and 2 to 25 and 26 actually came from Cindy. And really without much hesitation, you said, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kind of pulled off during some of the discussion and spoke to two of the developers there. This is a 4-person development team, so they initially didn't see where it would be that much of an issue. Once we pulled away and had some discussions, that's why I reiterated our original request was what lots 1 and 2, and that still would be the preference. But we are would be acceptable for it to be a 25, 26.
Right, and I say that just to illustrate, you guys seem like you're willing to work with.
Sure.
You know, and of course, and this will, I guess, will come up in the next one, but, you know, the big one was going back and trying to acquire the property for the secondary entrance.
Sure.
So I just seem like that you guys are really, you know, trying to,
sure,
you know, trying to work with everybody in as much as possible, kind of thing. And so I was, you know, I was, you know, so far I've been, you know, understanding the concerns that they had,
sure,
but impressed with what you guys are trying to do along the way,
right,
to even with Mr. With Mark and the concerns that he has with his place.
Sure.
So thank y'all for doing that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we you know, I understand that it's difficult when vacant land becomes a neighborhood that's right next to you, you know. And we want to try to ease that as much as possible. And I think as we move through the process, everything that we could meet those requirements to help offset some of those concerns, we would try to get that to happen. Obviously, the connection was the most difficult one because that involved other people being willing to work with us. So obviously, we want to be good neighbors, and the last thing we want is for people to be, you know, hating on us while we're right there next door working for a few years anyway. So.
Yeah.
And the discussion at the planning committee was that if they have the model home there up on the upper end, folks would get accustomed to coming in and out there, and so chances are you would alleviate that mass traffic going into that lower entrance. And again, yeah, they just seemed real receptive to that, and it's like, okay, it all makes sense. So, good job, Cindy.
Can I add one thing as to why I asked this? And it was because of 2 points. One, you just gave the answer, Vice Mayor Updike. But 2 was to give the people adjacent to the property who only have a 10-foot backyard right now that are getting 33 feet extra, time to put up some trees and stuff to help cushion the sound barrier because if they start on the Updike side, up the Berks Hill Road side, excuse me, then they will, that would give time for those trees and all to grow. And then to help the gentleman on the Berks Hill Road side, they could, they could go ahead and plant the trees and all for the sound barrier it is. So hopefully it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Thank you. What else? Anybody have any more questions, comments? Mr. White, I just want to say for me, thank you for being persistent. I mean, this is on, what, 3 years? And I appreciate you coming back. I mean, you were a champ. You took
We're trying.
You've done well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think at the end result, I mean, I think it pushed us to a point to where it allowed us to work harder to get that secondary access, and I think that's just going to make for better development overall.
I totally agree, yes. And then, as we just said, that's probably will be the way a lot of people will come in.
I would imagine.
Anytime you see a new road cut in there, people want to know where it goes. Yeah, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Ready for a vote? All right, John.
Mr. Foreman.
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Haley.
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito.
Aye.
Mr. Updike.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right, resolution, conditional use permit for townhouse at tax map number 146B-1-1T.
On March 6th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to recommend whether property located at 1031 and 1035 Manita Road should be approved for a conditional use permit to allow townhouses in the B2 zoning district. Townhouse development is regulated by Section 811 in the zoning ordinance. This request would provide a development setback from Berks Hill Road / Manita Road and be primary access to a proposed new development adjoining Governor's Hill Phases 1 and 2. The layout of this request is shown on the same plan of development with the Governor's Reserve rezoning request. Additional land is under contract for purchase from adjoining Lighthouse Free Will Baptist Church to give the required 50 feet of road right-of-way for development. One citizen spoke at the hearing about requiring extra parking for the townhouses. The commission discussed adequate parking at units for visitors. The developer said there will be parking for 3 cars at each unit, 2 in a driveway and 1 in a garage. Commissioners expressed concerns for making sure the property conveyed to the developer from the contract purchase for access to the related and adjoining rezoning request at Governor's Hill or Reserve. The commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the townhouses with one condition. The land shall transfer to the developers, Ranbo Ellen LLC, from Kevin Van Horst. Council at this time can consider adding or removing any conditions or discussing conditions at your leisure. Tonight, Town Council is requested to consider the resolution for a conditional use permit at tax parcel 146B-1-1T with one condition related to the land transfer.
All right.
What are we considering?
Yeah. I guess the question is, what are we considering?
This is the land that,
This is Mr. Van Horst's property, and we need conditional use permit to install the townhomes.
And this will be the one that affects Mark back there.
Yeah,
Property residing there.
Okay, good. Do we have a motion?
Before there's a motion, just one observation, that the condition from the planning commission specifies there be a transfer of land, but it doesn't specify when that transfer is to occur. It might be worth adding to the condition, if someone were to make a motion to approve it subject to that condition, that the condition be modified to state when that transfer must occur by. I don't know if the gentleman has any.
Yeah, I don't know of a time frame. Obviously, part of our proffered conditions for the rezoning was to acquire land and make the tie-in. So I don't know how long it takes. I know I spoke to Mr. Van Horst. Obviously, I'm not the purchaser. I don't know how long some of that stuff on the closing side. Obviously, I mentioned that we were going to have to do some little surveys, some replatting on the properties and bring it all in together. I would say 90 days. I know we're trying to get a plat done to transfer, we proffered to transfer the adjoining land to our neighbors in Governor's Hill, that 33 feet. You know, we proffered 90 days from today's date if we get approval, which we did. I mean, sometime in you know, whatever it takes to get a closing done after that, I'm not exactly sure, but obviously we're committed to doing that because we won't be able to do the rest of the development without it. So, and we do have signed contracts ready to be executed after today's meeting. So,
and there's not any urgency necessarily to make
Sure,
it
yeah.
quickly transfer. You just want to make sure that it doesn't sit idle forever without a transfer.
I guess
30 days is probably.
I guess the additional condition would be we wouldn't start any townhouse construction until the land transfers.
Yeah, and I was thinking you could do no land disturbing activities or.
Well, we have the land disturbance activity has to happen to make the connection. Obviously, the road access through there, I don't think we need a conditional use permit. But to build those townhouse units, we need the conditional use permit, so we would disturb that land, obviously, just to get the connection in, but maybe the additional condition would be that we do not construct any new townhomes on that parcel until it's transferred to us. I mean, obviously, that's obvious. We're not going to build, we're not building from Mr. Venner's.
Somebody get that and want to make the motion? All right. So we make a motion
To approve the conditional use permit, subject with the resolution, with the condition as proposed by the planning commission that the land shall transfer to the developers, Rand, Bowell, and LLC from Kevin Denhorst prior to construction of any townhouse.
No.
transfer before, okay. All right. Can we just second your motion?
You can just adopt it. You don't have to
Okay,
Somebody needs to
maybe adopt it.
What he said.
So moved.
There you go. That's a brainful at this late hour.
On a motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, okay. Did you get that, Sean?
Mr. Updike made the motion and Mr. Haley seconded.
Yes. Is that okay? All right, I think any more discussion?
Only thing I'm gonna ask, and we're talking about, once you start that flow into Burks Hill Road there, down the road when possibly, like your lady mentioned, a traffic concern, they getting on to Burks Hill Road and stuff like that.
Sure.
Would that be any kind of works in play down the road where possibly maybe work with VDOT or work with the town to maybe?
Sure. Yeah, VDOT has no review authority over that road, which I was a little surprised. Normally they have review authority over certain roads in towns. They do not here. I talked to Mr. Morris at VDOT about that. Obviously, when we do our entrance design here, we'll have to do a traffic analysis to determine we'll do traffic counts on what the existing traffic is, analyze whether or not we need to create or extend the median lane for storage in the left turn lane to get into it. If we need any type of additional tapering or anything like that, that'll be all part of the design process that'll be reviewed by the town.
Good. Good. All right, Shawna?
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Haley.
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito.
Aye.
Mr. Updike.
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Foreman.
Aye.
Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, resolution conditional use permit for homestead.
On March 6, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to decide whether property located at 926 Lake Drive can be recommended for approval of a conditional use permit for a homestay. The applicants and one proponent spoke at the public hearing. The proponent was in favor of homestay as a use and supported the request. Planning commissioners asked about the number of bedrooms and how many occupants would be allowed and how many parking spaces were required in the homestay ordinance. One bedroom would allow 2 adults, and the zoning ordinance requires 1.5 spaces per house. Motion was made to recommend approval of the request. That motion, without conditions, passed unanimously by the Planning Commission. Tonight, Town Council is requested to approve a resolution to approve a conditional use permit for a homestay located at 926 Lake Drive. Council may oppose further conditions if needed.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Raintree, y'all can come back up. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
Councilman Ippolito made the motion, second. Councilman Foreman made the second. All right, we heard your description earlier. What questions do we have?
I only have one comment. When you figure out how to downsize from 6,000 square feet to 1,000,
I'll let you know.
Yeah,
You might get a patent on that.
that's right.
yeah, that was discussed at the committee meeting too.
I was at the planning commission meeting, so I heard it also. I really have no questions.
The only question I have, what kind of restrictions about how long do you allow people to stay there? Is it a certain amount of time where they can stay there, or just occasionally, just like stand at a Airbnb and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we go through Airbnb, but it's called a homestay. And what did you say?
14 days is what makes it a short-term rental.
Okay. Thank you.
Just want to say good luck. And I like the front.
Anything else? We good? Okay, Shauna.
Mr. Haley,
Aye. Sorry.
Mr. Ippolito,
Aye.
Mr. Updike,
Aye.
Mr. Evans.
Aye.
Mr. Foreman,
Aye.
Mr. Foster. Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye.
All right, resolution conditional use permit homestay.
This one relates to the property at 1135 Lakeview Lane. The applicant spoke at the public hearing. There were no other speakers on March 6th. The applicant stated there are 4 bedrooms and 3 parking spaces. They would allow 6 adults and children. No events or gatherings would be permitted. Motion was made to recommend approval of the request without discussion. The motion to recommend approval without condition passed unanimously by the Planning Commission. Per the Planning Commission's recommendation, Town Council is requested to approve a resolution to approve a conditional use permit for a homestay located at 1135 Lakeview Lane, tax parcel 153-A-3T. Council may impose further conditions if needed.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion. Second.
Councilman Evans, and who made the second? Vice Mayor Updike. All right, what questions do you have? Discussion? Passed one, so. Ready for a roll call?
Yep.
All right, Shauna.
Mr. Ippolito,
Aye.
Mr. Updike,
Aye.
Mr. Evans,
Aye.
Mr. Foreman,
Aye.
Mr. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Haley,
Aye.
Mayor Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries with all 7 members voting aye. See you
All right,
soon.
I am adjourning this meeting until 5:30 PM on April the 22nd, and we are adjourned.